So I thought I'd update you guys today. Today I'm just kind of resting because I had a seizure yesterday. It was basically caused by a combination of too much caffeine, too little sleep, and low blood sugar because I have post-traumatic epilepsy. And so the paramedics were called because I had stopped breathing. And I had post-traumatic epilepsy from my brain injury. Basically, it's a type of epilepsy that it can develop right after a brain injury, or it can develop several years later as the brain heals, but pathways in the brain stop working correctly, and the brain cells die, and they're not communicating. And so there's a bunch of triggers that can trigger a seizure. I just started seizure medication, but sometimes it can take more than one seizure medication to control it. Other times even on the best of seizure medications that are working well, you can have a slip up with enough triggers. But basically, the ambulance got here. I was in my mother's car when I had the seizure. I have a continuous glucose monitor, and my glucose was 52. So my mother apparently races back to my apartment because I guess she was at the store. She was going in to get me a snack because we knew my blood sugar was low. She races back to my apartment. As she gets here, I'm having this seizure, and oh my goodness, you guys. While I'm seizing in the ambulance, the paramedic had put me inside the ambulance. While I'm not breathing, my heart rate's erratic, my blood pressure's all over the place, my sugar levels are low, and mind you, I tend to have the same paramedics every time. They just seem to be the ones on shift. One of them has the same types of seizures I have, and so he says I'm his friend when I come out of the seizure. Great paramedic, amazing, and always like very good. But the paramedics were so mad because my property manager comes out because I rent, and she says, I'm running 30 minutes late. You need to move the ambulance. Like, excuse me, ma'am. I think I have the right to live. Like, I think you can wait during a medical emergency. Like, I think the ambulance comes before you. Mind you, they're parked on, like, the side near the dumpster. So when Mom showed me when they were parked, I was like, yeah, there was plenty of room for her to get her car through if she knew how to drive. But so my mom showed me where she was parked this morning, and I was like, I can't even believe she said this. I didn't find out until after I got out of the hospital. And then my experience in the hospital was like something else. So the paramedic always does a great job putting my IV in. The nurse spent 30 minutes trying to get my IV out, and she goes, yeah, I really think the paramedics did a good job getting it in. I can't get it out. And it's like, excuse me, ma'am, you better get it out because I want out. Like, I was getting sensory overload from my autism. Basically, there was too much sensory input. I just, hospitals are a lot for me. Between the beeping, the movement, the fluorescent lights. So I was ready to, like, just get out, once they got me, in there, and I'd been there, like, 3 hours. And it's like, I really hope the paramedics got it good because that's what they're trained to do. But she, like, couldn't figure out how to get this IV out. She, like, this is what she did to my arm trying to get this IV out. So that was not a good experience. And it was, the doctor basically said, yeah, it's an epileptic seizure for sure. But then he saw in my chart that I'm autistic, and he comes in and he says, are you autistic? And I'm like, yes, I am. Like, and he goes, are you sure you weren't anxious? And I'm like, yes, because my anxiety definitely dropped my blood sugar to 52. My anxiety definitely made me stop breathing and choke on my own vomit. Like, that's definitely my autism. My autism definitely controls my breathing and definitely drops my blood sugar. And during a seizure, your blood sugar then raises. So when the paramedics had tested me after they got there, my blood sugar had raised to 180, which is normal during a seizure, and then it'll drop after the seizure, which is what happened. And I'm like, yeah, so, and they're like, yeah, it sounds like you have all the symptoms of an epileptic seizure. You have epilepsy, definitely an epileptic seizure. But then the doctor's like, but what do I know? You're autistic. Maybe it's your autism. And I was like, where did you go to medical school? Because autism doesn't make you stop breathing and choke on your own vomit. And it definitely doesn't, make your blood sugar drop to 50. So then on top of that, this doctor was like, they have to make sure your blood sugar is stable before you left. And my sugar could go from like 250 to like 60 in an hour. It's very erratic. I get like highs of 400 and 500 and lows of like 50 to 60. So when I went into the hospital, they tested my blood sugar. It was like, I guess, 66. And my Libra started alerting me that it was under 60, probably 30, 40 minutes later. They did not tell me my blood sugar was that low. My sister went out and showed them my phone and my Libra and my sister-in-law. And she's like, yeah, her blood sugar, this is what it's saying. She needs food. And the nurse said, yeah, the doctor said her blood sugar is 66 and she needs to eat immediately. But mind you, she waited like 30 to 40 minutes to tell me, like, ma'am, I have no food on me. I have no drinks, because they don't let you like eat right after the seizure, because if you have another seizure, they don't want you like choking on it. But she didn't think to bring me food. So finally she brings me a cranberry ginger ale and orange juice and crackers, and then a while later they test, and their machine says it's 256. My Libra is telling me it's 130. The Libra is usually more accurate than a finger poke, according to my endocrinologist. And so this doctor is like, yeah, you can leave. And I'm like, he tells me what my sugar is, and I tell him what my Libra says, and I'm like, that seems like a big difference. And for somebody who has blood sugar problems, that difference in blood sugar can make a big difference. Because like I said, mine drops very, very quickly. It gets high very quickly. So I'm like, why is it a 100 like difference? And he's like, yeah, it could be that your Libra is wrong, or it could be that our machine is wrong, and it was wrong when we tested your blood sugar. And I'm like, well, shouldn't you make sure what my blood sugar is? Because they said it had to be stable before I left. And he's like, yeah, no, I think you're good. I don't know why it's weird that it's like such a big difference, but like, you're good. Definitely high enough for you to leave. And I had the worst feeling this was going to happen. The minute I exited those hospital doors, like they discharged me a while back. They discharged me after my sister-in-law runs home real quick. So I had to text her and let her know I'm discharged. They let me walk out the doors by myself. I get out the front doors, and my Libra all of a sudden starts going off. My blood sugar had dropped below 60 again. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, because I have no food on me. I have no drinks on me. I'm video chatting my mother because there's just, you just don't know who's out there, and I want to be safe. And I don't like waiting alone by myself as a young female. So I video chat my mother, y'all. And my mother's like, Sam put candy in your purse. Like, she wanted to make sure you had it, like, in case of another emergency. So I'm, like, frantically searching my purse. Finally, I find this candy, and I stick it in my mouth. And luckily, my sister-in-law had stopped and gotten me a drink before she stopped and picked me up. So I drank this drink on the way home. And the whole night, my blood sugar was staying around, like, 60 and below. My mom had to pick up glucose tablets, and I had to take 3 of them to raise my blood sugar to normal. So it was such a chaotic day yesterday. I'm good. Like, I'm safe. I'm doing better. But I don't know where the doctor got his license. I don't know what was up with the property manager. I don't know why the nurse who was trained to take out the IV couldn't get it out. Like, it was such a chaotic day. And like I feel like as medical providers, when somebody is autistic, it doesn't necessarily mean like they're not doing well or that they're super anxious. And like autism doesn't cause seizures, so it's like as medical professionals, we can't just blame everything on autism and mental health. Like, you shouldn't discredit your patient just because they have autism or mental health issues. Like, we need to learn to listen to our patients, listen to the symptoms, listen to the events leading up. And then at the end of the day, the doctor said definitely an epileptic seizure after he talks to me. And that's what he put on my discharge paperwork when I left. And while I was there, the other weird thing was he's like, so why do you have like a Libra Freestyle 3? Like, why do you have a glucose monitor? And I said, to monitor my blood sugars and my glucose. Like, I wasn't sure if it was a rhetorical question or not. Being autistic, I was like, I thought the answer was like in like what it's called. It's continuous glucose monitor. Like, my endocrinologist prescribed it, like, and I almost didn't have a monitor yesterday. Like, thank goodness I had that monitor, because my monitor, like my sensor the day before had wasn't working, and so my brother had to put a new sensor on. And so thank goodness I had the sensors for the glucose monitor. You change them usually every 2 weeks. Mine malfunctioned and stopped after like 4 days. So I had to put a new one on. But it was a very eventful day. And I don't know if it was just my luck to get the doctor who's like, yeah, I don't know anything. Like, yep. And everything. Like, it was, I have no clue, y'all. That was just my day. It was a crazy day. So yeah, now you know, I guess, yeah, I just wanted to spread some autism and epilepsy awareness, and update you. I'm doing good today. My blood sugar was low this morning. I ate like 3 graham crackers and a bit of juice, and it shot up to like 250, but now it's at a good, safe level. It just went down on its own. I didn't eat or drink, and I waited for it to go down. And I'm just kind of resting today, but it was crazy, y'all. Like, I don't even know where to start, because never, like, as someone who was recently diagnosed with epilepsy, it's like, of all things, you think my autism caused my seizures. And then he said, well, you had 3 seizure triggers within the last 24 hours. I had too much caffeine. I had 3 caffeinated drinks in 24 hours. The more caffeine in your blood sugar, the more caffeine in your body can raise your sugar. The more caffeine in your body, sorry, I'm tired. The more caffeine in your body can raise your risk of a seizure. It can, low blood sugar can raise your risk of a seizure. Having a head injury makes you prone to seizures. Having post-traumatic epilepsy makes you likely to have a seizure. Not getting enough sleep. I hadn't slept the day before. But it was not my day yesterday. It started out such a good day too. Like, I got a burrito. I got to get a nice coffee. Like, my mom got me French fries. And she was getting me a chocolate bar because my sugar was low, which is like a rare treat for me because I don't get a lot of like sugary sweets because of my blood sugars. And yeah, the last thing I remember was my mom going in the store. My hands were getting cold. My vision was just going black. And on top of that, I was hearing classical music. I get seizures with like an aura, so I tend to hear weird like classical music before a seizure, even though there's no classical music playing. It's just a sign of the seizure coming. And then everything just went black, and I woke up, my face was numb, my hand was numb. It took it a while to the feeling to come back, and that can happen after a seizure. It was just a crazy day, y'all. I hope you're having a better day than I had yesterday. but I'm safe, I'm well, and I hope today's a better day. Like, hopefully we start off today on the right track. Like, I was not stressed when I left the hospital. I was actually in a really good mood before I had my seizure. But that doctor, man, he really was like stressing me out. Like, he was like, yeah, definitely epileptic, but like also, like, who knows? Like, maybe it's not who knows? Um, definitely my autism that triggered everything for sure. Yeah, I really hope if you're a medical provider, definitely listen to your patients. Um, like my mom, the nurses, the paramedics, everybody told him it was an epileptic seizure. And this doctor's like, yeah, definitely one, but also at the same time, like, what do I know? So yeah, listen to your patients. Just be aware. Don't discredit somebody's symptoms just because they have autism or they're mentally ill. Like, it doesn't change the symptoms they're having. It doesn't change the medical events. Like, yeah, mental health can make you feel physically drained, physically sick, um, at times, but that's not always the case. That we can't blame everything on mental health when somebody is having medical symptoms. So yeah, listen to your patients and have a very good day. I'm gonna try to have a good day. And that's kind of all I gotta say today. Bye everyone.